This is a Fox News alert. Trump becoming the first president to get a mugshot after turning himself in at a Georgia County jail on election interference charges.
Our next guest says if the president is convicted, she would pardon him if she is elected president. Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley joins us right now, live from Chicago. Nikki, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So what do you make of the mugshot?
I mean, to me, I think it's a sad day in America. I think it's disgraceful. I mean, the idea that we're seeing a mugshot of a 77-year-old former president, I mean, how did we get to this point? And I don't know that anyone in America should look at that and feel good about it. But I think the reality is we need to focus on what I hear everybody talking about, and that is the fact that inflation is keeping them from being able to afford necessities. Yep. You've got parents worried about transparency in schools. We've got an open border. We've got national security threats. So we've got some work to do. But, you know, I think that the main thing when it comes to Trump is we need to know that, first of all, we shouldn't assume that he's going to be convicted. And the second thing is we shouldn't assume that he's going to be the nominee.
A lot of people after the debate were talking about the abortion issue and your response to the abortion question. Many Republicans are saying we need to adopt this too, because you were saying, look, I am unapologetically pro-life. My husband was adopted. I had trouble getting pregnant with my 2 children. But we need to stop demonizing this issue. We need to not try to throw women behind bars if they do this.
And be realistic.
Be realistic with the numbers. Yeah, we don't have enough votes in the House or in the Senate to abolish this. How did you come up with this answer, and what are you hearing from the voters after that debate?
I mean, Ainsley, that's the answer from my heart. You know, I am surrounded by blessings, and God has blessed me with an amazing husband and 2 wonderful children. But having said that, I think it's really important that all of us remember everybody has a personal story. So while I'm unapologetically pro-life, I don't judge anyone for being pro-choice. I think that we have to humanize this issue. We've got to stop demonizing this issue. I think the division in this country has gone too far. We have to start looking at the vision going forward. My vision is, how do we save as many babies as possible and support as many moms as possible? If that's the case, be honest with the American people. Tell them what is possible and what's not possible. And let's bring people together based on humanity, not based on making people hate each other. And I think it's happened too long, and I'm just not going to be a part of that. I refuse to be a part of that.
Very similar to your stance. I remember when you took down the Confederate flag in South Carolina, and a lot of people were against it. And then you said this is un-American. It is offending a lot of people. And then you got so much support after that from the folks in South Carolina. Sorry, Brian. I know you
Well, I think you have to remember leadership is about bringing out the best in people, right? Leadership is about telling people the truth and letting them make decisions. But leadership's also about tone. And you have to make sure that you are giving people the knowledge they need, but the ability for them to find the best way forward. Sure. And hating each other is not the way to do it. And I don't think we have to compromise our beliefs to do it. But I do think we have to be responsible in how we communicate.
By the way, it shows the American people care about this election. You had 13 million people watching that debate, which is pretty amazing in today's fractured television environment. And are probably going to grow there when we take in all the streaming numbers. Meanwhile, we're looking at the first blush at the impact of the debate. DeSantis looks like he picked up 5 points. Trump seems to have lost 5 points. You have almost doubled your support from 29% to 46%. And a man you diametrically oppose on everything foreign policy-wise, Vivek Ramaswamy, seems to have picked up 6 points. When it comes to, you mentioned abortion, one area in which you sparred with Mike Pence. You sparred with Vivek Ramaswamy on Taiwan, but especially on Ukraine. And what a lot of Republicans say, yeah, I believe that Nikki Haley might be right, but what drives him crazy is how underfinanced and undersupplied Joe Biden is to the Ukrainian forces, not giving them what they need in a timely fashion, making this thing drag on longer than it has to. What's your reaction to that?
I mean, first of all, I hadn't seen those poll numbers, so I'm super excited, and I love to hear that. But the second thing I'll tell you is we didn't even have to be at this point. If Biden had done his job, had we not had the debacle in Afghanistan, had he not shown weakness, we wouldn't even have a war with Russia and Ukraine. We wouldn't have Chinese aggression on Taiwan. So understand that that was the leadership that was missing, and that's the situation that put us in this point. And so when you talk about Ukraine, I understand that Americans are divided on what we should be doing with Ukraine, but Vivek was completely wrong to say that we have to choose between the border or protecting our national security. We do it all. We do it all to make sure we keep Americans safe. And let's keep in mind, I think, personally, we don't give checks to Ukraine. We should focus on equipment and ammunition. But what we have given Ukraine is 3.5% of our annual budget. A percentage of GDP. If you looked at that, 11 European countries have given more than us. So let's focus on real facts and not scare people into this. The truth is, a win for Russia is a win for China. Fact. The other thing is we have to understand that the way we win is make sure Ukraine finishes this. Look at what they've done. Look at how far they've gone. And don't underestimate the fact that Putin is a murderer. We saw that with Prigozhin. We know what he's capable of. I worked with him in the UN. He and China made no bones about the fact that they want to destroy us. Let's not take our eye off that ball.
And Nikki, one other thing about that poll that Brian was citing from the Washington Post, it was who gained or lost support. But the more important part is who are you considering voting for? After the debate, 47% of the country now, of Republican primary voters, are considering voting for you, way up from 30%. So that's good news for you. Before you go, we ask all the candidates, what's your website if people would like more information or to donate?
We have a country to save. Join us. We've got a vision. We've got plans. We're going to get this done. Go to NikkiHaley.com. Let's do this.
All right. See you in September at the debates. And also, I guess you'll be in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina. Thanks, Ambassador.
Thanks so much. God bless you.
Good luck. I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.